decided to make this video after watching the Gibson Harrison-Clapton Lucy Les Paul presented by Guitar Center. I should probably first say a little something about my relationship with Clapton. I'm one of those guys that came up in the 80s that, for me, my guitar gods were guys like Van Halen and the guys that followed in Van Halen's wake. You would always hear guys like Eddie or Neil Schon, who is another one of my favorite guitar players, speak in the most reverential terms about Clapton. Given the type of technique that became prevalent in the 80s, it was hard to understand why these guys held Clapton in such high esteem, because he wasn't that type of player. Over the years, I've heard that every guitar player has to go through do their Clapton trip, and the last year for me has been my Clapton trip. Like most people who've ever listened to classic rock radio, I've heard Eric's stuff with Cream, White Room and Layla, but it never got its hooks in me until the last year. I think it was I heard Steppin' Out from John Mayall and the Blues Breakers when Eric was very young, when he first plugged the Les Paul into the Marshall, and it just really grabbed me. Anyways, what I found fascinating about this particular video is that recently on the Agile Guitar Forum, now known as A Guitar Forum, someone had started a thread which asked, what is your go-to song that you play when you audition a guitar, when you try a guitar at a guitar store? When I watched this Clapton video, what occurred to me is that this is what Eric plays. If you just put a Les Paul in his hand, this is just where his hands go to. And I found that interesting, and I found it revealing just to watch him noodle, what he would do. I'm reminded of a story about Stephen Hawking. When he was young, he would crumple up his notes and throw them in the trash, and when he left the room, the other students would go grab the notes out of the trash. This is how brilliant Hawking was. I look at Clapton like that. Just Clapton's noodling is worthy of study. Yeah, I've tabbed out and learned note for note. This little noodling thing that he does can't be more than a minute long, and I'll provide the tab. I hope you guys can learn from this. I learn from stuff like this tremendously. So this is what, when they put the guitar in his hand, he plugs in the amp, this is the first thing he plays.
Well, I might have to turn it up, I'm afraid.
What we have here is just very simple, basic pentatonic blues lick in the key of A. Very tasty. Then he switches pickups to the bridge, and he turns down the tone knob. Little variation on the same type of lick with a different ending. Now he's going to turn it up.
You're not going to like this.
So, volume all the way up on the bridge, tone. Obviously amazing vibrato. Then he plays around a little bit with that phrase. It's a very common phrase for Eric. Volume up on the trumpet. I always thought of that as a B.B. King type of thing. To me, B.B. owns that lick. There he's on the neck pickup, and he's got the tone knob turned down a little bit. I love how he makes those notes beat against each other, and how he holds that slide. He holds those two notes together. Root, the major third. just messing around with the tone controls and getting this tone here. This part right here, he bends the notes just tiny, just a little bit sharp. Jeff Beck does that a lot. You're just bending them just a little bit sharp. It adds a lot of expressiveness to the notes. The other aspect of the sound, other than just the licks, his use of the tone controls. Starting out with the amp set at a lower volume, lower gain. Volume is all the way up on the guitar, tone is all the way up. Then I turn the tone all the way down, I'm on the bridge pickup, and he plays with his fingers. Leaving the guitar tone control alone, staying on the bridge, he turns the amp up at this point and has this sound. Then he turns, staying on the bridge, turns the tone control back up. Then switches to the neck with the tone all the way up. Then turns the tone down on the neck pickup for this really, really fat sound. Then turns the tone back up on the neck pickup